is the potential that we have to realize, like I want to be able to make enough money to support my family and over that, have extra so I can help other people. That's the potential. What took years and years to get to that potential. In relationships, we have to realize that this is the potential of relationships, and we have to take the steps to get there. And many of our parents, they stopped having sex, or they had sex that basically ended a man's horniness. Okay, so his sexual need was fulfilled. But for many women, they lose their desire to have sex with their husbands. This is also very, very common today. Not everybody's that way, but there's the interest in sex goes away. People don't feel like I'm missing anything because they're not interested in it. But that lack of interest in physical intimacy is a symptom of aging, accelerated aging. Once you stop being interested in the physical intimacy, you're not young again. It's a symptom of aging where you don't make enough hormones in order to have interest in making love. And, I'm at 72. I feel like it's the best time of my life as far as the bedroom activities. My knees do hurt a little bit sometimes. That's about it. But, the potential, because, at my age, I don't have little babies running around that I have to take care of and take care of my wife. A lot of responsibilities having children, which I think is the greatest job you could ever have. But then the next thing is, as a grandparent, to understand male psychology, male biology, is you could see, I could talk to you all day. We could talk, we can go on, I can teach seminars for 10 hours, as long as I'm in the role. I'm in a role of solving problems, giving insight and so forth. And that's a helping role.
Right.
Now I'll be, tomorrow is my day. I go to my daughter's house, one of my daughters, who's got a 1-year-old. So that's right. Just so unbelievable.
Cute.
So cute, so precious. And I spent 3 hours there, and it's just
How
so,
blessed you
so,
are.
so much love coming. Sometimes it's twice a week, but the day after I have to recover. As I come home, I'm exhausted and tired. I'm
Right.
really exhausted. I could do 8 hours of counseling and talks during the day, hardly exhausted at all. But 3 hours with a grandchild, I'm exhausted. Why? Because it makes so much estrogen. See, whenever you feel love, affection, warmth, nurturing, that love feeling, that's estrogen. That gives women energy. That activates their fat cells to make energy. But for a man, you get too much estrogen is not a good thing. Estrogen is good for men, but too much is not good. Testosterone is good for women, but too much is not good. What we want to do is we have to find the right balance. So that's kind of like the build up to your question. Now we can go further with the hormones.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I mean, everything makes so much sense and it's so interesting, so interesting. I find it fascinating. And you have a way to explain it that it's so easy to understand. So I wanted to take the conversation a little bit in this area that I have seen in my own coaching practice that I stumble over and over and over. And I want to see if you give the answer and then I can just show them the video so they believe me.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's a very simple question, but it's about these ladies that are about 30, 35, 25, 35 years old, that they go on dates and they have sex with a guy right away. And that's not the coaching. I coach them to not do that. I explain
They do
how
it.
biology is against them and they're like, no, I can do it because they're so strong and successful and they have everything else figured out. So they really think they have that figured out as well. And then sure enough, the guy ghosts them. And they start to chase the guy. Until, we come to a climax where they get it, that they can do that when they are not ready, when it's not the right time in the relationship. So could you please unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah, well, it sounds like you already know the answer for them to do, but if we have more understanding, it might help them to realize. If a woman, I'm going to do biology, which nobody's ever explained them. Okay, first of all, if you have sex with a man and he doesn't know you yet, and he hasn't bonded with you in his mind, where he's had conversation, where he admires the way you think, Okay. He has to admire the way you think. And in his heart, he has an experience. I have been so successful on many occasions making you happy. That will bond. He's bonding with you. After many, many dates, and you're happy with the date, I'm actually going to experience an emotional bond with you. After many conversations where I listen to you, but also I share my thoughts, and you feel, oh, what a good idea. Oh, that was so smart. And you, in a sense, you're appreciating my mind. Then you appreciate my behaviors. Then if you have sex with him at that point, he will have sex with you. It will be a more intimate experience because now he knows who he's having sex with. He feels loved in his mind, bonded in his mind, bonded in his heart. Then he has sex with you, bonded on a physical level, but then unbonded. Men disconnect after sex. So what happens if a man ejaculates? When he ejaculates, he will disconnect. That's the juice. And so when he disconnects, there's nothing that makes him want to be close to you. To a certain extent, if you have sex with him, but he's already bonded with you in the heart and in the mind, when the sex energy, when the erection goes away, see, the erection that's his desire to be with you. It's done if he ejaculates. And when he ejaculates, it's done. There's nothing there. And what's left is almost a feeling of repulsion,
Oh gosh.
repulsed by you. It's really deep inside psychologically, he's repulsed by himself because he had sex and the energy didn't come back to him. See, when I make love to my wife, if I ejaculate, the energy comes back to me. Now at 72, I figured out, I teach this, it's a long course, you can't expect most men to even be close to this, I'm multi-orgasmic without ever having to ejaculate. So when I finish sex, my penis is maybe an inch higher than it was during the best part. And it just takes a while to come down as we cuddle or whatever. There's no, see, I'm not addicted to ejaculation at all. It's that the human condition, all men are addicted to ejaculation. It's just like cocaine. When you ejaculate, you will get a shot of cocaine in your brain, and your brain wants that again and again and again. The only cure for that is to be in a long-term marriage or long-term committed relationship with one woman. The more you have sex with the same woman, you bond with your mind and your heart. When you're bonded with your mind and heart, then when you ejaculate, the need to ejaculate becomes less. That's one thing. So you can actually learn how to have orgasm without ejaculation, but that's a very advanced skill. But what happens even in the early stages of being bonded to a woman, okay, so I've been appreciated in my mind. My actions are appreciated by her. So I'm bonding with her that way. Now I'm having sex with her and she's enjoying sex. That's very important. She has to be able to really enjoy sex. If she's not enjoying it, that will really make him feel like I wasted my energy. And biologically, there's just nothing coming back. You see in the movies, the man having sex with his wife and she's like looking somewhere else. That's a dead relationship. She's actually punished. I mean, it's like he's being kicked in the balls after that. He doesn't know. He just feels awful afterwards. But it's a normal thing for a man to ejaculate and then withdraw. What's happened is when he ejaculates, his estrogen levels shoot up really high, more than his testosterone, and it pushes his testosterone down. And those who are familiar with my work know that men need to disconnect in order to rebuild testosterone. Then they want to connect to produce the estrogen to balance. And then when the estrogen goes really high with the sex, then it knocks his testosterone down. He needs to repel. So that's generally speaking, most men, that's what happens. They say turn over and go the other direction. That's normal. Women kind of go, gee, he's like fully there and then he's gone. Well, the juice that made him be there is not there unless he's fully bonded in his heart and mind. And that takes time for a man to, that's why you go slow in the beginning. Let him experience conversations where you think he's brilliant, and he is brilliant to you. You don't want to have sex with some guy who's stupid or has wrong thinking. You have to be able to appreciate his master wisdom, and then also appreciate his willingness to do things for you and consider you and understand you. These are all conversations, interactions, dates, but he will bond in his mind and in his heart so that then when actually he gets gratified, there's this urge inside of all men to have sex. Okay, they want to have sex. If he's dating you, he wants to have sex. There's no doubt about it. Just one woman said to me, I'm not sure if he wants to have sex. He just kissed you on the cheek. I said, no, he only kissed you on the cheek because he's sensitive enough and he doesn't sense that you want to have sex with him. So, there's a thing inside of men who are more heartfelt They feel ashamed of their sexuality, like there's something wrong with wanting to have sex with her because she doesn't want to have sex with him, which that would be wrong if you actually had sex. But to feel like I want to have sex is just, I'm attracted to her physically. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Right.
guys, it makes them a little more shy, kind of like they're hiding their ulterior motive. So that's fine. But the key to it is if you gratify him right away, his ejaculation will cause his testosterone to go down, and now he has no attraction to you at all, because his only reason to feel desire for you was for sex, as opposed to I want to do things for her, and she's really appreciative, and she really, feels like she needs me, and intellectually she thinks I'm brilliant, and I
Right.
like to think. So that's bonding. So what happens for these women, now let's talk about them, the fact that not all women want to go out and have one night stands. All right. Uh, that's not all women, even though the feminist movement promoted that, which is, we can be like men too. We can have sex. We're free and so forth. And all it takes is having a one night stand, and your body can get addicted to, I want to have sex. Okay. As opposed to, I want to feel loved. I want to feel respected. Then I want to have sex. I mean, many women I counsel, they're repulsed by men who just want to have sex. Okay. And look, let's look at the real reality here. Okay. Here I'm husband and my wife, and sometimes, we get an argument or whatever. And this is before I learned all this stuff. I would go to my cave. I'm not going to talk for a while, and she's not going to be happy for a while. This is both of us unconsciously punishing each other, but it's what happens. And usually I'm the one who works through and comes out and says, I'm so sorry, honey. I love you so much. Let me do some nice things for you. We make up. So I'm the guy who knows how to do all that. But one time I just didn't do it. So she figured, look, I'm tired of this. I'm going to end the war. And so the way she ended the war, I'm laying in bed, and she just came into the bedroom naked, put her arms up like this. She said, look at me. I'm a woman. Fuck me. And instantly I went, huh, okay. And all my resentment, everything was gone. Okay.
Wow, that's simple.
That's simple with the guy. Now, a woman, on the other hand, if she was mad at me and I did that, are you kidding? You're disgusting. Get out of here. I don't see, there's a real difference between men and women. That's an example. So many examples, but that's a good one. It was
Oh my
amazing
goodness, that's great.
how quickly I could go from my hater, I want a divorce and it's over. to,
Totally.
okay, I'll do that. Because see, what happens is sex. Men don't know about themselves, and women don't know either about men, is that why men all want sex, and if they don't, when I say all men, the men who don't want sex, they're just not in touch with that part of them. Okay. They're just shut down there for some reason. Is a man needs sex. Now, if he's just an animal, you make babies and that's it. But if you're not an animal, you're a human being and you've made your babies, or you're not having sex to have babies, why do you want to have sex? The reason you want to have sex, and I call this enlightened sexuality, is the purpose of sex as human beings seeking to rise to higher consciousness is to feel more love. That's what we call it, making love, is to feel more love. And the reason sex is so important for men to feel more love is that when a man is being sexually welcomed by a woman, and she's women, like, they feel love when you hold them. It's like, for a man, this guy, when you're holding that guy, when your body is holding that guy, that's when he will feel the most. See, men have a limitation in their ability to feel because they have 1/10 the amount of estrogen that a woman has.
Right.
Whenever you're feeling love, it's estrogen. So we don't have the estrogen levels that women have. So women are not so in a hurry to have sex or whatever, generally speaking, because they can have love with their friends, with their children, with their grandparents, whatever. They have love all over the place. Men don't. Okay. They may have probably the most love a man has if he has children. He can have love for that, or a dog. But his capacity to feel love is still stunted until he's experiencing intercourse. Basically, is when he is close to a woman in that way. He's literally having his estrogen levels go up with her, but at the same time, he has an erection, which means his testosterone is still high. Why is his testosterone high? Because she's enjoying it. That's why, and we'll often say, did you have an orgasm? And, and which is terrible pressure to put on women, because biologically, they're not always biologically capable of having an orgasm. It depends on times of her period, depends on how much stress is in her life, but she can enjoy it. And that's what I tell all women when it comes to sex counseling. I say, stop trying to have an orgasm. Don't ever try to have an orgasm. What you want to do is allow yourself to enjoy the affection, the touch, the pleasure, no goal. And then you'll be surprised by more and more orgasms will come your way. But you don't try to have one. That trying is being on your male side. Anyway, coming back to the woman who's open to having sex right away with somebody, she's not in touch with her femininity. What it is why is she so much on her masculine side? The bottom line of why women went to their masculine side in the first place, to the degree that they have, is fear of not trusting men. One is basically a lot of women in bad relationships, or the fathers were dysfunctional. Those women grew up and created feminism. And basically, you can't trust men, you have to do it yourself. Right. Then you have around those women, they create a culture that says you can't trust men, you have to do it yourself. And around evolution, it's good for women to be independent. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fantastic, particularly if you happen to bump into a bad man, you should have enough independence so you can leave him. So in the long run, this is a good thing. Evolutionary wise, it actually takes us to we ascend to a higher level of who we are by being able to be in touch with our masculine and our feminine at the same time. I'm in touch with my masculine and feminine all the time. If I was to be the slightest bit stressed, then I'm now going too far to my female. And there are a few things that can still stress me out. Very rare, because I have this balance. I know how to maintain my balance. It's trying to make a computer work when it doesn't. Okay. That does stress me out because I don't know how to do
I
it.
don't blame you. That's maddening.
Massively frustrating when you can't do something that you have to do. Okay. This is why I teach men. Women are not so crazy and it's so difficult to have relationships if you know how to do it. They're just not told how to do it. Women have to explain to men how to do it. What do you need? And say it to them in a nice way, which we can get to. Right. Women have to understand what they need. And that's the big hurdle. Okay. I can teach men all to the end of the day, but if the woman is not cooperative, if the man's not cooperative and the woman learns this stuff, in most cases, she can get him to be cooperative. Because men are like dogs, feed them, give them what they need. They're real simple. If you don't, then they're very complicated like women. Women are complicated. Every day of the month, your hormones are changing. Okay. And you need a different type of relationship at that time. By different kind of relationship, what I mean is relationship with yourself, relationship with an intimate partner, relationship with a friend, relationship with a parent, relationship with your past, relationship with your future, relationship with children, all teachers. That's a big one. Learning new things, doctors. Most women.
Really important for us as women that we know our cycle and what is happening so we can be more balanced.
Yes. Well, that's for women that are really into that. Lauren created a class which is called How to Create Me Time.
Lauren is his daughter.
Say that again.
Lauren is your daughter?
Lauren is my daughter. Yeah, she teaches online and she has classes for women only. The best one, though, the first one, I edit them. She won't put anything out without my stamp of approval, but she's married now 10 years and she's, she says, Dad, all this was theory until I actually had to do it. It's really hard to put into the practice. And even recently she said to me, since we stopped working on our workshops together while she's been pregnant and she's raising her little baby, she says, I've forgotten so much. And so just talking to you, I remember all this stuff because it's so easy to forget it, which is why, again, I'll recommend people need to take that class. It's a 6-week class. It's called Understanding Men. And that's a really, really important because see, so much of the stress women have is not understanding men. Okay. It's misinterpreting them. And then understanding how to get them to do things for you. That's a big part of the whole course is how to get them to do things for you. And that's your job to do, because I mentioned before, when men come home from work, they run out of dopamine. In the beginning of the relationship, remember, the newness stimulated dopamine.
Yes.
But that goes away. You don't get free dopamine, which means free testosterone. So he comes home He
No,
needs,
and that's a big complaint that, at the beginning he was different. At the beginning he was more affectionate. At the beginning we were doing more things. And now I feel like I am with another person. And how do I make him, go back to that person that I fell in love with? That's a big thing between women.
yeah. Well, just to know part of that is how she has to go back to be the woman when she had high dopamine.
Hmm.
When she was having high dopamine, her estrogen levels were high, so she didn't notice anything wrong with him.
Oh, okay. So it's
No,
like a bit
so
of denial, like
it's on both sides. When your dopamine goes, estrogen goes up, you're kind of in a drug state. Okay, everything looks, you just see the good. You don't see the red flags. You don't see this. You don't see that. And then as the dopamine settles down, you come back to your baseline, which everybody's got a different baseline of happiness, but it's not nearly as happy as what it was when the dopamine levels were up.
So,
And
Dr. Gray, what do you sorry to interrupt you, but what do you recommend in those cases that they date for a certain period of time before getting engaged and getting married or moving in together?
well,
How
I
do
gave you a big, for your client, I gave a big explanation of our biology and everything. I can simply say that women are designed the first in a relationship with a man, share, don't have to hide yourself, conversation where he's respectful of your point of view, and most important, that you're appreciative of his point of view, and you don't try to change his point of view. Okay, you just like, well, that's interesting, things you can say to him, or that's a good idea, that makes sense, I have a different point of view, but that's interesting, I haven't thought of that before, oh, you're brilliant. See, these are things that will make him more interested in you, as opposed to, well, I don't like that at all, and you should think that way. You wouldn't want to do that. That's not what a positive person does. You want to share your truth. You can say, that makes sense. I have a whole different point of view. I think this and this and this. That's where you have to practice being authentic to what you think and what you feel. But don't try to change somebody. See, and being authentic to what you think, except don't be authentic to what you think and trying to change him. You shouldn't think that way. Okay, you want to be your true self. So authenticity builds in the mind first, then let it build in the heart first by authentically asking for what you like. Only do what you'd like to do. Don't sacrifice anything for him, and assert yourself to ask for what you'd like. These are all new skills to a great extent. And what it would look like many times, the guy will say, well, let's go out next week. He says, okay, let's go out. He'll say, well, where do you want to go? She'll say, I don't know. He says, what do you think? And he'll say, well, I'm going to a baseball game. Well, you're not really into baseball, but you go, okay, let's go to the baseball game. But that's not what you're into. You should say, oh, I'm into going to the ballet. Okay. So he's going, oh, ballet. Well, I think I'd like to do this. And you go, well, I'm not really interested in that, but we can do ballet. You have to assert what you want to do, because he cannot bond with you unless he does something for you, not you doing for him. So these are all like skills, all outlined out in my book, Mars, Venus on a Date. Okay, that's so you start in the mind, start in the heart. Then if you become more physical, he's potentially the right guy. If you want to have sex with a guy right away, he's the wrong guy. He's the wrong guy. You've got some signal going off. Women with high real self-esteem do not feel the need to have sex with a man right away, unless maybe you're 60 years old and you've matured yourself and you're very balanced and so forth. That's different. But this need to have sex with a man is your people pleaser. And in most cases, it's a dysfunctional father. This is well known in psychology. When a woman wants to have sex right away without knowing a man, that's like, it's not making love at all. It's just some kind of stimulate your clitoris thing. It's nothing. So why are you into that? Well, you're a bit addicted to it because you have got used to having clitoral orgasm rather than vaginal orgasm. Clitoral orgasm leaves you empty. Vaginal orgasm leaves you full. Clitoral orgasm is like a man's ejaculation. And so, when you have to do is stop using your vibrator. These women who want one night stands, I counsel them. I help them change. But they're first of all, they're busy doing their vibrator. Stop doing that. You're having sex with a robot. When you think about a man masturbating to pornography online, aren't you a bit disgusted by that? I would be. It's so disgusting. And you should be disgusted. Well, you should be disgusted with yourself for having sex with a robot. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just you put your foot in it. So be disgusted and don't do it again. Get rid of your addiction to sex and become more healthy. My priority is to be treated in a loving way, to get love. And also, it will increase your sexual potency to be, when you get with the right guy, to feel strong sexual attraction. But it has to build. It doesn't happen right away most of the time. It's flame on right away, means he's the wrong guy. So you're having sex with the wrong guy. And even if he was somehow magically the right guy, he has sex with you right away, he's going to still have no connection to you after all of his juice is gone. This is, oh, you feel so attractive. Back when I was single, I remember having sex with a girl, one night stand, and I'm turned on to her, and she's so beautiful. I couldn't believe a being could be that beautiful. And after I ejaculated, I'm like, who am I with? Literally. And you see, this is jokes all throughout the media, because all men have this experience. There's one funny movie where the guy's a one night stand and she's fantastic, and then they're done, and he's like looking at her toes, and her toes get bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's out of there. This is what happens: is he gets too far one way, he'll go too far the other way, and you don't want him to experience that. You want to keep giving him lots of distance and space to come to you. Anything you do to meet his needs is going to slow down the relationship or push him away. It should all be about your needs, emotional needs, mental needs, to feel safe with somebody who's got some intelligence, smarter than you in some way. You could be smarter than him, but he's got to have something that can offer you. Otherwise, he's going to lose attraction for you as well. So you want to measure someone a little bit higher in certain fields than you are. And that's why size is important. Most of the time, doesn't have to be this way, but a man who's about a foot taller is very good. It could be the same, but if he's shorter, even biologically, I've been with tall women, it just doesn't fit right. Having sex, I feel like I'm climbing on my mother or something.
Oh, yeah.
There's a way we fit together. Not everybody's going to fit together right. So, but size matters. Size, and then another one, which him being taller, him being protective, to feel in some way he's protective of you. You need to feel safe in his presence. These are all really key things. For me, I don't think about safety at all. It's just not an issue for me because I'm a man. Generally speaking, unless I was in danger, then I would think about how to solve the problem. But rarely do I experience a feeling of fear or anything like that. Not a lot of men aren't in my situation, but I'm just giving my experience. And so when I was in Russia, I had a bodyguard. He was 6'7", okay, and he was huge. And suddenly, just being with this big guy, I felt so safe. It was a good feeling. I felt like I was a girl,
Were you picking fights around?
Oh, it just, just to know he was there, that helped me to understand why size is important for women, but also groundedness. See, he was a big guy, so he's never had to fight anybody. So he doesn't have any aggression in him. That was the interesting thing. He was like a teddy bear. He just, because he's never had to fight anybody. But so that's not his go-to place. But in terms of skills and relationships, I teach men, you cannot raise your voice to a woman. If you're angry and you raise your voice, you'll shut her down. And when she's yelling at me, I said, well, if you can't hear it, then politely say, let's talk about this tomorrow. I need to think about it. These escalating arguments just destroy relationships. Over time, trust is gone. And men don't understand that, because historically, the reason we're all still alive on the civilization is that men had codes of behavior, which is you kill the enemy, not your wife. And you're cool, calm, and collected. But also women had codes of behavior, which is they didn't have much they didn't complain so much, but they had nothing to complain about, because the world, they were in survival. And if a man, she wouldn't marry a man unless he could kill the animals and bring home the food. Okay. So if he did his job, she could do her job, and they would have a kind of love, of appreciation.
Nowadays, as you said, we moved from survival to higher to self-actualization, and that raises the bar so high.
It does. And it's not hard. It's actually easy. For me, it's easy. Just like if I'm a professional basketball player, it's easy to put it in the hoop. But it takes years of practice. And even those NFL players who are like masters of it, they'll miss a free throw if they're tired. So even when you're good at it, if you're tired, you can't do it right. I'm always going to have.
It's a good example. I love it. I love it. I love that example.
The other day I was a bit grumpy. I had a toothache, and my wife says, She said, you have permission to have your period once a year. But she
Oh,
could say that because when I was a younger guy, I could get irritated, annoyed by things. I just don't now. And that has self-esteem, but it's also understanding that when women are not happy with you, it's temporary unless you make it permanent. Okay. She just needs to have the freedom to express herself, and she'll feel more and more safe. And
yeah.
then she'll be more and more loving, but it's all about safety for women. And an angry man is not safe. And so what he has to do, so like, for example, in Lauren's course, which is understanding men, if your partner is irritable, grumpy, or angry about something or anything, he needs space. That
Mm,
means, and you can't tell him you need your space, because that doesn't give him the space to decide on his own. So you
right,
create space by ignoring him and getting out of his space, doing things that make you happy. The
right.
most important thing that pulls a man back to his masculine side, comes out of the cave, wants to come to you, is when you're happy and you're not looking at him as the source of your unhappiness.
Right. You
I,
read my mind. That's what I was thinking is that takes radical self-responsibility and self-awareness. And I think those skills are missing a little bit
they're
nowadays.
not taught anywhere. They're not taught anywhere. Okay. This is to understand everything through the filter of gender. Because what happens is, for many women, if you're feeling angry or irritable or grumpy, you want more empathy, you
Yeah,
want more attention, you want more help, you want more him present for you, and that will take you out of that state. So when he's feeling irritable, the last thing you would think is to go out and do something and ignore him and do something that makes you happy. And if he is really in his female side, because men are only angry and irritable when they go too far to their female side. If he's way on his female side, then when you come back and tell him what a good time you had, he might make some stupid comment like, "Oh, you just go out and do what you want to do." And it says, "Yes, isn't it much nicer to have a wife who's happy than me being grumpy while you're grumpy?" See,
right.
logic, that's logical. As everything is, men will always appeal to logic as long as you don't argue with their emotions. If he's getting emotional, he can't hear a word you say. Just a woman, if she's emotional, I can hear a word she says, but she can't hear a word I say, but I can do the listening thing. Because when you listen to a woman, she feels more understood. When you feel understood, validated, you're not being judged, then she relaxes, and then her ability to love comes back, and she will give it back in spades. Okay. This is, if men could just understand the power of listening to a woman, doing things for her, not being angry with her. These are powerful things that we can do for women.
So powerful. It reminds me of the other day I saw the Gottmans, and he's 81 and she's 70 something. And they were asked how they dealt with conflict. And he said something so sweet. And I thought, oh my God, this man. He says he carried a book, a notebook on his back pocket. And when his wife comes along and says, we need to talk, he immediately grabs the notebook and starts taking notes. And I'm like, oh my God, that is amazing.
He did that.
That's what he does. He actually took the notebook
No,
out of
no, he's a researcher. I understand it. I'm always doing research on my partner as well.
and he writes, and she feels like he hears her that way.
Here's her. Here,
Yeah,
and it is a healing when a man can hear a woman. What's interesting about Gottman, which I'll point out, which is, I see how he's worked this out. Most counselors make the mistake of teaching couples active listening. Active listening is you say something as a woman, and I say what I hear you saying is,
right.
and that's a good skill in any to fit it in kind of in any kind of business situation, any kind of work situation. So what you're saying is this and this and this, but it's not usually people's emotions all involved. Okay. So
Yeah.
what Gottman explained is that doing active listening in counseling sessions is very effective.
Right.
At home, it doesn't work. He was the one who sort of burst out saying that. And I appreciate that very much because, here's another person acknowledging what I said to my wife, which is, honey, after doing this for years, because we're taught to teach this, and it is a good communication skill. I said, with my friends, they never ask me to repeat back. what I've heard them say. And you're my best friend, you're my wife. You can trust me. I hear you. I hear you. She says, I don't know. I don't know. So one time then I waited for her to go. One day she had a lot of stuff going on and she talked for 50 minutes. I was looking at the clock, 50 minutes. Then I said, no, honey, I read in Gottman's book that this really doesn't work at home. I think we can make a shift here. And she says, well, how do I know that you've listened to me? And I said, well, first of all, you've talked for over 50 minutes. Can you tell me everything you just said?
Oh, you're a smart man.
And she said, no. And now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do it. I can do it because I do hear you. And I gave it all back to her. And I said, now just remember this day. That's always going on inside of me. I don't have to say it back out loud. So that was important. And that made another shift in our relationship where she had to just share it and trust. But I had to behave in a nice way. Okay. And I learned not to complain or argue. If a man argues, and what that looks like, a lot of guys go, I'm not arguing, I'm just explaining. No, anytime you're explaining, you're explaining why she's wrong. That's
Yeah.
what an argument is. I'm explaining to you why you're wrong. Now, if it's an intellectual argument, I have no problem explaining why I'm wrong. I'll try to explain why I'm right. That's called a conversation. But with a wife, particularly someone you're having sex with, if her feelings are in there of being hurt or not feeling heard or not feeling supported, arguments kill the relationship. And so this is where basically I've learned don't explain. Instead, but what do you do? What's your proactive thing? Ask more questions. Ask more questions. You're just a researcher. Help me understand that better. Tell me more. What else? Tell me more. What
Yeah.
else? And she will run out of things to say and the conversation is over. Then you give her a big hug. Honey, I love you so much. I heard you and I'm going to try to do better. Done. And
Right.
even this magic phrase, I hear you. Sometimes she might complain to you and then look at your eyes. So are you going to change? Okay, did that register? And you don't have to say, I'm sorry. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to try to do it better. Just simply say, I hear you. I'm working on it. Like that. You got to give back something, which is real. But if I was to be corrected on something silly and little, which is the way I look at it, which is why it's not a big deal to me, but it is a big deal to her, but it's not a big deal to me. And I'm supposed to say, oh, I'm so sorry, when it's not a big deal to me. That's why I forgot to do it. Okay, I'm just lying. So no lying, but what you can do is every communication needs a response. So the response is, I
Yeah.
hear you. Or I know that must be challenging. I'm working on it. That's it. Not a big deal to apologize for, and yet some couples never apologize about anything. That's an important thing. So
It's nuanced. It's nuanced.
these are all the nuances of a relationship, but we should be feeling more empowered and loved and supported in a relationship. So I want to make sure I cover this point for the woman. Why? Okay, because now as a woman, when you climax with a man, you release your oxytocin. Your estrogen levels go very high and you release your oxytocin. It makes you feel insecure. So that's why women are going, why didn't he call? What does he think? What's going on? So you've actually hurt yourself by bonding with somebody more than they bonded with you. And he's not going to bond with you after sex. He'll only bond with you after sex if he's already bonded mentally and emotionally and sexually. That bond will lessen. But when he gets turned on again, he has a chance to rebuild it and rebuild it and rebuild it. But always sex should be the result of a woman's heart opening. She is the controller of the gate. Don't open the gate until your emotional needs are met. And if she's already been doing this, there will be this tendency. We know it's the result of not trusting men. I have to give him what he wants and then I'll get what I want. Whenever you're trying to get from a man by giving to him, you're going the wrong direction. You give to a man only as a natural response to having received from him, and then you give back. Men, the masculine side of us, we give to get. Okay. I don't expect you to love me unless I earn it. Men have to do things. And if you love me for doing nothing, I will do less. Okay.
Right. Oh,
We
God.
love a man in response. If you pay me for doing nothing, I will do more nothing. If I respond, if I do something for you and it's delightful, energetically, I want to do more of that, but not necessarily right away, but that's my next wave will come up doing more. So that's how you encourage a man. That's how he bonds with you. And to this woman, I highly recommend, the Understanding Men. So she realizes in that process, you understand yourself as a woman more, because the more you freely give to men, the less they're going to work to get your love, and they should work to get your love, and you should not.
Right. So is this a website or is understandingmen.com?
That's understand. No, it's just Men Are From Mars. No, it's marsvenus.com is
Okay.
the website. And then you'll see at the top, we have courses.
Okay.
But let me, you give one point, then you say, okay, if I stop giving to him, then how do we bond if he doesn't give to me? You ask. So I'm going to give you, I have another appointment I have to do, but I'm going to do 5 really quick hacks. One is you talk with your partner and you say, I'd love to have an equal relationship. And sometimes I feel like it's not equal. You're so amazing. You're so powerful. You're so strong. You're so smart. I start to feel less than. And if you don't feel less than, just say it. This will make him hear what you've just said. And because basically you might be feeling it's unequal because you're doing more and he's doing less. If you say that, he'll feel blamed and judged. But if you just say, I start to feel insecure, like you don't love me as much, because that's the deeper feeling that goes with it. On the surface, I do more, you're doing less. Well, why is that upsetting to you?
Right.
Because you feel like, well, then you don't love me. So you just have to start saying, I know you love me. Sometimes I feel insecure. That's my issue, and it is your issue. And so I need reassurance. I see you're so confident. You don't need that much reassurance, but I'm as a woman, I'm more emotional. I tend to need reassurance. So these are the ways you can give me reassurance. Every day, I'm going to give you a signal. I'll put my hand up, 5 fingers. That means I'm going to make a request that will take less than 5 minutes for you to do. Are you willing to do for me every day 5 minutes?
That's genius.
And then every man, well, 5 minutes, sure, I can do that. That's why it's so good. So then you say, now when I do it, what's going to raise my hormones, make me feel really good, this is a hack, is I'm going to ask you to do something that I can do for myself. I can do for myself, but it will feel so good to have someone do it for me, particularly have you do it for me.
Yes.
Then it will raise my hormones. That's the hack every day. Her job is not to do anything at that time, but to enjoy the fact he's doing something for you that you could do for yourself and you asked for. Very important. And what you get him to agree with in the very beginning is, if I do this, it's like emergency, has to be done right away or it doesn't work. So it's kind of like, yes, happy to do it. I'm on the way. It's like done. And every man can do that because it's just 5 minutes. That means if you're watching a football game, put it on pause, go and do it. Although I'll try not to do it during the end of a basketball game. That's when it's really exciting.
Yes.
Okay. So
timing is important.
And so timing is very important. So 5 minutes. So your body will experience that whenever I need his help, he's there for me. Doesn't have to be big. It's less than 5 minutes. And on 1 day a week, you can do 2 hands, which is 10 minutes. And that could be when you need to talk about something and whatever, 10 minutes, and just say, I just need your undivided attention. I know you want to go watch TV, or I know you want to go do this. I need your undivided attention just to listen to me talk about what's going on inside. You don't have to say anything, and it'll take about 10 minutes and I'll feel really good. And that man who's tired, he's exhausted, he can't listen because he just needs his cave time. He will need, say, 10 minutes. I can do it. It's amazing. It will give him so much energy to have a beginning and an end, something he knows he can do. So those are 2 hacks. Another hack is 4 hugs a day. 4 hugs a day is he initiates the hugs. He finds you 4 times a day.
I'm gonna take notes.
Yeah. So
So
those are 3 good hacks I want people to know. I have many, many more, but those are my favorites, which are
4 hacks during the day, separated?
Or I wake up, my job is to find her, give a hug. I leave, I find her, give her a hug. I come home, I find her first. That's timing. The kids want to see me. I say, where's mom? We go to mom first. She's number 1. And I initiate the hug, and the hug is 6 seconds. It takes 6 seconds to activate the oxytocin, which makes her feel safe, which then allows her estrogen to start to rise in order to feel, oh, I can depend on him. And this 5-minute hack, 10-minute hack, and you'll see how many women won't do it. And when they don't do it, I say, that's why you've got a lazy husband. You're not asking.
Right.
Either you're complaining you're going to get a lazy husband, or you're not asking. And really what a complaint is just a request. It's just a poorly framed request that doesn't get you.
We could talk about this forever, the asking and the not asking. It's another universe.
So we can do another show with questions, but also the hacks for making love. And
Okay, I'll write it down because I'll see you again in a couple of months.
okay, I'll see you again. I'm running a little late, so I'm gonna say goodbye.
I love you so much.
I
You're the
love
best.
you too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.